Perfect. So if you can just confirm me that you are able to.
Yes, everything is fine.
Perfect.
We
Then
can
we
see.
start. So good afternoon to everyone and welcome. As Katerina said, my name is Anastasia. I'm a European project manager at France Clusters, and I'm very happy to be with you today for this capacity building session for the topic gender, inclusion, and diversity in the cultural heritage innovation, which is part of the CR.EU.IN heritage program. So a couple of practical things before we start. So during this webinar, we will do at one point an interactive activity, and I will invite you on the needed point to participate with your micro or with a chat. And so we will have together 60 minutes, and at the end, we will do the Q&A session. And one last thing before we begin. So I want to highlight that the people in this session came from different countries, different fields, and different professional cultures. And this diversity is very interesting for this topic. So please don't hesitate to participate when we will invite you. So the agenda for today, we will start with a short reminder about CR.EU.IN heritage. Then we will see the cake definition, framing, and the EU context for this webinar. Then we will see the gender inclusion and diversity influence on cultural heritage innovation industry. Then we will see the panel of project materials. It's a European project which was developed to put in place gender equality practice in SMEs. So we will see the gender equality training handbook. We will see why gender inclusion and diversity strengthen innovation and what you can do at the SME scale. And then we will have the question and answer session. So let's start with a quick reminder what is CR.EU.IN heritage. So it's a European Eurocluster co-founded under the EU Single Market Programme, coordinated by the Venetian cluster across 9 EU countries. Its mission is to spread the European cultural heritage value chain through cross-sector innovation, funding at least 20 collaborative projects and supporting at least 40 SMEs. So today we are talking about gender inclusion and diversity in cultural heritage innovation. Cross-sector innovation does not happen in vacuum, it happens in teams, and the quality of those teams is very important. Who is in them, who leads them, who is heard, who decides, indirectly affects the quality of the results. So before we go on with the topic, let's see the key definitions so we are all aligned with the understanding of them. Let's start with the definition of gender. So gender is a conceptual tool that enables us to identify what a given society at a given point it is in its history considers to be feminine or masculine. It is neither a theory nor a belief, it's a simple and observational tool that enables us to analyze relations between women and men and understand how they have evolved. Gender is socially constructed, not biological, and varies across cultures, historical periods, and social contexts. It is therefore evolutionary. What is considered masculine or feminine change over time and place. Now let's see what is diversity. So its differences in values, attitudes, cultural perspective, beliefs, ethnic background, sexual orientation, gender identity, skills, knowledge, and life experience of each individual if in any group of people. Now let's take a look at equality. So equality means equal treatment of individuals in the same situation. It means equal pay, equal access to jobs, training, career advancement, and working conditions. Equality does not mean that women and men will become the same, but that their rights, responsibilities, and opportunities will not depend on whether they are born male or female. And the last one is inclusion. For small or medium-sized enterprises in the cultural heritage sector, inclusion means creating a workplace and a business where every person, regardless of gender, age, disability, ethnic background, or any other characteristic, can fully participate, contribute, and be recognized on equal terms. Moreover, the European Parliament has noted that gender balance is far from being a reality in the cultural industries, and women hold positions of responsibility primarily in SMEs or when they establish their own businesses. And also, for example, the participation of women in telecommunication, internet media, in e-commerce and software, a basic plank of the cultural industry, is extremely low at 30%, and whereas only 20% of new businesses in that sector are established by women. Also, let's take a look at the definition of cultural heritage innovation. So there is no single codified EU definition of cultural heritage innovation as a standalone term, but one can be composed from the Horizon Europe strategic framework and the European Commission research and innovation policy documents. Cultural heritage innovation refers to the mobilization of Europe's tangible, intangible, and digital heritage as a driver of sustainable social, economic, and technological transformation through research, the integration of advanced technologies such as AI, 3D, and extended reality, and new forms of cultural and artistic expression built on existing cultural assets. It encompasses research and innovation activities that connect cultural heritage with the cultural and creative industries, supports new forms of expression grounded in existing cultural assets, and provide evidence of their role as innovation drivers in the wider economy while generating innovative responses to current challenges at all levels of action, from conservation and valorization to social cohesion and democratic sustainability. Let's see the framing for today's webinar. So this presentation will cover how SME in our sector can integrate gender, inclusion, and diversity into their internal practices regarding recruitment, hiring decision, and team composition. Specifically, we look at the place of women, people with disabilities, and people from different backgrounds in the workforce. So here we are not addressing end consumers or client-facing diversity. The focus is on the organization itself. Before we go into detail regarding the Penelope tool, let's take a look at the EU context regarding the topic. So the first thing is that the cultural sector has a better age and gender distribution than the EU average. However, the average pay gap in the EU is 12% and women's employment is 10% lower than men's. And based on the revamped methodology, introducing new indicators and renewed pace of change, we are at least 50 years away from reaching full gender equality. And additionally, women's progressing in corporate leadership has increased gradually, but top jobs are still largely occupied by men. Around 34% of board members on the EU's largest publicly listed companies are women. Additionally, let's examine the age-gender data regarding the employment rate. Firstly, we can see that within the same age group, women are consistently less likely to be employed. And secondly, we can also see that young people are more likely to be unemployed than older people. And furthermore, we can talk about, when we talk about innovation, we often refer to the technological improvements. Despite making up 51% of the EU population, only 1 in 3 science, technology, engineering, and mathematics graduates, and 1 of 5 in information and communication technology specialists are women. And regarding people with disabilities, 1 in 4 Europeans has some form of disability. On average, the unemployment rate for disabled people who are capable of working is twice as high as for people without disabilities. And regarding country of origin, non-EU immigrants have higher unemployment rates, which is also an important factor in workplace diversity in the EU. So what does it mean for the cultural heritage innovation industry? The cultural and heritage sector is among the most creative industries. Its output depends on varied perspectives, references, and lived experiences. And so diverse team will provide a richer work, yet inclusion in the sector workforce remains uneven. Closing this gap is not a matter of compliance. It's about SMEs that reflect the diversity on the societies will be able to work in better position to innovate, attract talent, and stay relevant. So our solution is a project named Penelope. So Penelope, it's an innovative and pioneer cluster-based approach to foster and integrate gender mainstreaming strategies in European SME. It's an Erasmus Plus project developed by 5 partners from France, Austria, Romania, and Spain. The goal of this project is simple. It's a goodwill and intention are not enough to improve inclusion in the workplace. SMEs, cluster, and stakeholders need concrete knowledge and practical tools to implement sustainable gender equality strategies. And so Penelope works through clusters as a primary vehicle for change, equipping them with the gender inclusion and diversity principles that they can transfer directly to their members SME across European industry. And though the European project, Penelope, has produced 4 key resources. The first one is a Gender Equality Training Handbook. It's a pan-European collection of good practices interviews with industry representatives and the full toolbox for implementing gender inclusion and diversity in companies, covering topics from recruitment and equal pay to workplace culture and leadership. During the project, also a video toolkit was developed about inclusivity principles presented in a simple way. The project also developed a workshop methodology guide. It's a step-by-step training guide to run equality workshop for companies. And also a e-learning platform. It's a free adaptive training platform available for 5 years, offering customized learning path for both clusters and SMEs. And during this webinar, we will focus ourselves on this handbook, the Gender Equality Training Handbook. So let's see the overview of this training handbook. So as you can understand now, this document is called the Gender Equality Training Handbook from the Penelope project. It is the first guide of its kind at the European level, designed specifically for clusters and SME. It was published in January 2024 and compiles contributions from 12 European countries. So the structure of this training handbook, you can see it here, it's structured in 3 different parts. In the first part, introduction and vocabulary. So before moving to the tools in this handbook, it lays the foundation, what is gender mainstreaming, what are the key concepts, and the complete glossary to avoid any confusion. Then we have the second part for the inspiration. It's a collection of good practices and interviews from Austria, Bulgaria, Finland, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Romania, Spain, Sweden, and Lithuania, with concrete cases, testimonials from the field. And the third part, it's a practical toolkit. There is 18 tools divided into 8 themes that you are able to see here. About corporate culture, recruitment, career progression, equal pay, working condition, maternity and flexibility, harassment, and monitoring. So now I will show you the organization of this handbook. Can you confirm me, please, Katerina, that we are able to see it?
Yes, we can see it.
Perfect, thank you. So, as you
maybe you can zoom a little bit,
yes,
but it's
sure.
fine. Yeah.
Is it better like this, maybe? I think it's better.
Yes, it's fine.
Perfect, thank you. So here you can see the table of contents. So it starts with the introduction, what is gender mainstreaming, about the research, regulatory and methodological aspects of gender mainstreaming in the workplace, the glossary, then the stories for being inspired with good practices and interviews. And then we have the practical toolkit for gender mainstreaming divided into different teams and different tools inside this team. So the workplace culture and institutional transformation, talent recruitment, career progression and access to training, equal pay, working conditions, health and occupational safety, maternity, work-life balance and flexible working arrangements, sexism and harassment in the workplace, gender monitoring, performance and reporting, and then conclusions and references. So now I invite you to put in the chat in which section you are more interested in, and we can see how the section and the tool are organized. We can take a look at one section, for example, and then we will see the key takeaways of each of them. If you want, we can see the workplace culture and institutional transformation or other ones, so don't be shy, please let us know. If not, I can go to the first one. So we can see how it's organized. So the first one is about workplace culture and institutional transformation. When you first open the section that you are interested
We have, sorry, Anastasia, sorry for interrupting, but you can also see the chat because we have some responses there as well.
Can you? I can open it. Yes. Yes. So talent recruitment. Okay, perfect. We can take a look. I'm sorry, I didn't see it. So we can click on this talent recruitment, we go on it. And so how it's organized, we have so the title here. The first it's about the first paragraph is about so the state about the topic and the news about it, and then we have the tool inside. The tool are organized every time more or less about the same manner. We have the small introduction, and then we have every time this blue part with the explanation what to do and how to do it. And for example, for this part, for talent recruitment, the first tool, it's about building an inclusive talent brand. And so this guide will explain us what to do and how to do. First, for example, we can ask ourselves the thought questions, how we can do it. You have the right, do we have the right female role models in place to aid in attracting in and retaining female talent, for example? How will you asset and how your workforce's diversity initiative and demographics are perceived both within and outside your workforce? What risks and opportunities are presented by this perception? So first, we ask ourselves correct questions about the topic. Then what we need to do is to establish our core values and commitment. So as it says, it is critical for organization to establish their core values as well as a clear commitment to diversity and inclusion before beginning the inclusive employer branding journey. The purpose, vision, and corporate culture of the organization should all reflect this commitment. Then we can develop the inclusive policies and practices. But we need to know that inclusive employer brand goes beyond representation. It entails creating guidelines and produce that empower and support workers from various backgrounds. And also we need to establish specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound diversity and inclusion goals. Is the next step after having a thorough grasp of your present diversity landscape. Then we can provide the training and education on diversity, equity, and inclusion to our team, and then to engage in partnership with stakeholders and diverse communities. And then the organization remains every time the same. We have the next tool for the same topic, and then every time in the blue part we have the explanation on how to do and how to implement it. Maybe you would like to see another part as well. I can open the chat. There is a lot. That's nice. So I can see, I will go up again. We can maybe take a look at another one. We still have some time. So training. Perfect. So I'm sorry, I have some problem with my computer. Here we go. We can click on it. So it's the same organization. We have career progression and access to training. So here we have the state of the topic, how it is going, and then we have the topic in blue, also different data about women's work and men's work. And then we explain how it's working. And so, for example, the main outcome for this part, it's that the key message is that ambition, it's not a masculine trait. Millennials and Generation Z consider career development prospects as the number one criterion when choosing an employer. SMEs that do not address this lose their best female and other talent. So it will explain how to implement this part, for example. I can go to the chat as well and to see the other parts. You can also see, for example, the workplace culture and institutional transformation. So this one is a base. We will start if we want to implement gender inclusion and diversity in our organization. We will start with an audit. So here is a presentation of the first tool, how to perform a gender audit of the status quo in your organization. So for example, again, we have the first step of what to do. We need to enact management will and organizational readiness. Then we will establish the gender audit core team. Then we will define the conceptual and methodological framework and conduct an organizational assessment, draft a diagnostic report, and then we will implement. But what is important about this part is that an organization is never neutral. Gender inequalities are often invisible but structural. And this handbook suggests starting with this audit to reveal hidden biases before conducting a concrete and measurable equality strategy. And if we go to the overview, for example, again, to have the outcome of each tool. So, for example, as we already saw the first one, the second one, for example, for the career progression and access to training, we also saw it. For the equal pay, the key message is just the pay gap does not resolve itself. An active compensation audit is required, comparing position of equivalent value, because inequalities silently accumulate with every promotion and negotiation. Regarding working conditions, health, and occupational safety, the key message is just workplace safety standards are not adapted to different people. For example, women, people with disabilities, young adults, person, etc. And integrating equality into risk prevention and recognizing realities like, for example, menopause or menstruation means taking care of the entire workplace and not just a part of it. Regarding the maternity, work-life balance, and flexible working arrangements, the key message is just flexibility is not a benefit, it's a lever for retention. Organizations that practice it are better at retaining women after maternity and attract a more diverse and engaged workforce. Then, for example, for the sexism and harassment in the workplace, the key message is that ordinary sexism precedes harassment. The handbook will insist on prevention rather than reaction by equipping SMEs with a clear policy and a culture where unacceptable behaviors are named and addressed. And for the monitoring part, performance and reporting, the key message is that what is not measured does not change. Without indicators, commitments remain intentions. This team provides SMEs with the tool to track their progress, benchmark themselves, and report transparently. So we can go back to the presentation. So why gender inclusion and diversity will strengthen innovation? The first reason is that diverse leadership will foster innovation and adaptability. As it was said in the training materials in Penelope, diverse leadership teams bring a variety of perspectives, experiences, and problem-solving approaches. This diversity will foster innovation, creativity, and adaptability, essential qualities in today's rapidly changing business landscape. Then what is also important to highlight is that if we include underrepresented groups of people, it can stagnate the R&D because diverse perspectives will drive innovation. So when women or other groups of people are excluded from key decision making, research and development can stagnate. Fostering gender diversity, equity, and inclusion will result in increasing employee engagement and better employee retention. When companies fully invest in their employees, they can spend less time hiring and training and more time innovating. Then we can also have a missed contribution. The missed contribution can cost companies competitiveness position. When underrepresented group of employees, contributions are not recognized, organizations miss out on ideas, projects, and sales that could have positioned them as industry leaders. And also, gender diversity drives creativity and problem solving. For example, from the handbook that we saw, we did an interview with a woman leading a digital network, and she said that gender diversity within teams has been shown to drive innovation and creativity. When diverse individuals with different backgrounds and perspectives come together, they bring unique insights and approaches to problem solving. This can lead to more innovative solutions and a competitive edge in the market. But also, numerous studies also show that equality has positive effects on economies, leading to increasing productivity, innovation, and competitiveness. Also, let's have a look at the case study of the Bulgarian furniture manufacturing SME named Linia Group. So, for example, they tried to implement this gender inclusion and diversity aspects in the firm, and they created a colorful, creative, and highly motivated team that is not only gender balance, but also age balance, with people ranging from 20 to 70 years old and LGBT inclusive. And they believe that it gives them a competitive advantage and also increase their ability to attract, retain, and develop talent, increase productivity and creativity in tips. This is notable because furniture manufacturing is described as an industry that traditionally employs more men than women, and making result even more interesting. And I will show you again in this handbook how it's organized. Here you can go to the part Get Inspired, and so you have good practices and interviews from different countries on different topics, and you have interviews for good practices from different organizations. We have public organization, we have clusters and group of companies, and we have this one that I showed you as an example. We have also companies, universities, and European and international organization. And for example, let's see how this part is organized. For example, if we go on this company that we just saw, this one here. So as I saw you, it's a Bulgarian company in the interior design. And so this is organized like this. First, we put the starting point from where the company is going, what is their problem, what they would like to change. Then here you can see their action, what did they put in place and how did they proceed. Then the challenges that they faced. Then the objective that they fixed to them to achieve the goals, the stakeholders that they had, the results that they achieved, and the perspectives. And you can see different, in this handbook, you will be able to see different examples on how companies have handled this situation of gender inclusion and diversity. And now, what can SME do at their scale? So as you saw, this handbook it's more more access on the equality between men and women, but you can go beyond, meaning that you can apply gender mainstreaming principle on other factors such age, disabilities, and cultural background. And the four most relevant Penelope tools for diversity, inclusion, and gender equality in SMEs can be cited to represent a full cycle: to diagnose, to strategize, to act on hiring, and to measure results. So the first tool is to perform an audit on the status quo. The starting point, it's a starting point for any action. It will evaluate the organization's current equality practices across hiring, promotion, pay and culture, producing a diagnostic report with a list of potential intervention following a SMART approach: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Then the idea is to establish an equal strategy. We need to turn the audit findings into a plan. The handbook states that lacking a strategy makes it very challenging to assess if daily action and decision are effectively steering the organization towards its desired ultimate objective. It must specify goals, responsibilities, and deadlines. Then we need to improve the recruiting procedures and eliminate potential problems. We need to target the most concrete barriers to inclusion. The handbook document said that the identical piece of work can be judged more superior if it was, for example, being created by a man, and making recruitment one of the first places where bias must be actively removed. And then we need to measure the results. So to create a monitoring and evaluation strategy, we need to ensure that we make changes, and the process is described as circular and continuous, linking the end of each strategy and its evaluation with the start of the next one according to the feedback collected and or the new gaps identified. Also, you can also check the e-learning platform. The Penelope e-learning platform offers two dedicated training paths, one for SMEs and another one for clusters, both for free of charge. The SME path covers 8 modules spanning workplace culture, recruitment, career progression, equal pay, working conditions, work-life balance, harassment prevention, and gender monitoring. Content is delivered through PDF presentation, videos, and interactive activities, such as multiple choices test and crosswords. And if you complete all of the modules, it will lead you to a Penelope CARS certificate. So now we can have a talk all together. So you can write in the chat, we can read with Katerina, or you can turn on your micro. What is the first concrete step you would like to implement for gender equality in your SME, or what you are already doing? You can share it with all together so everyone can know what to do. But if you don't have idea, maybe you can tell us what has the exploration of this tool brought you, what are you missing in this handbook, how can you use this tool in your activity, and what question does this tool and the presentation raise for you? Or if you have any other questions.
Just to remind you that you can also use that in order to answer right questions.
Also, yes, sorry, someone wanted to speak.
Okay, I have a question about the possibility to increase our chances to go to what is generally called gender inclusion and equality. At least in Eastern Europe, when we talk about gender, the societies are quite disbalanced in all regards, I would say, including in the sector of heritage, creative entrepreneurship, and other things like this. The main question is if we have partners in some surrounding countries now, we can conduct research or involve people, regardless the gender, men or male or female, in our strategy of development. This was the question.
Yes, sorry. So the question, if I maybe I understood it wrong.
We have, okay. I have to put it a bit clearer. Now, we're an organization from Romania, but we have partners in some neighboring countries that are either part of European Union or so-called countries that want to access European Union. Yes, I refer to Moldova, North Macedonia, Serbia, Bulgaria, and Hungary. No, we are surrounded by this country, even Ukraine. No,
Yes.
And the question was if in the step 2 we can involve other partners at all levels, including gender, inclusion, and research, if it's possible.
Exactly,
Okay.
yes. So I can answer this question with, for example, the example of my company where I'm working in the Meta Cluster, France cluster. So we also have a gender inclusion and diversity initiative with different partners, because for us it was important to do the promotion between about the equality between men and women in industrial companies. And so we did a partnership with the French National Ministry of Equality. And so we start to interview different companies that already put some actions regarding the equality between men and women and inclusion. And so we started to do these interviews to promote them. And so I think it's very important if you can establish different partnership to do, for example, this kind of action, even if neighborhood countries, for example, to promote this kind of initiatives and to show that it's possible to do at different levels. I understand also that it's very complicated when we are small companies where we are not a lot of people to do this type of action. But if we can start with small steps, for example, to show what is happening in neighborhood countries or in the companies that we know, how companies put in place this inclusion and diversity, and to promote it, then others can also start to put it in place. It's already a big step beyond.
I have a
Thank
question.
you
Is
so much.
that okay?
I'm sorry. Can you
Josephine,
Yes.
I have a question. So I do understand, where this is going, but then I give an example. So one of our lead organizations, the director is a female, for example, so she considers herself as a female. I'm gay, and our main designer, he's also gay, and the intern we have, he considers himself also gay. So my question is now, I don't want to put this out there. I don't want to put this on the website. So how are you dealing with this? I mean, obviously we are absolutely inclusive already because we believe we don't look at the gender or the sexual preferences. We look at the output of people. So this is how we are addressing it. Hey, you guys have really nice ideas. It looks really cool. Let's join our team and come and build this awesome blockchain thing and bring the old heritage of the Baltics onto the next gen technology. So how would you say can we convey this this information to for example, how we can put this into good use, without going too much into detail of
the details?
our
Sure, because it's still private life
employees
employees.
is not the right word, but stakeholders maybe.
Yes, sure. I see. For example, I can take example of France. Sometimes when, for example, we see the offers for different jobs. For example, we need every time we advise to advertise, let's say, in this offer that we are not looking into, for example, the nationality of people, of the gender, or things like that, so people don't feel excluded. Or every time, also we every time put, for example, the gender when we write the word in French. So then for example, the offer what we publish is neutral. When we try to publish different studies and things like that, we also try to be neutral so people don't feel excluded. And I think it's more complicated, as you said, to not put that we have people like that in our companies and people like so because it's still private life, but to highlight that we will not judge people about their gender, nationality, race, and everything and things like that. So we create a common space for everyone where everyone will be heard, and that we recruit on talent and how this person will participate in the committee with, in company with the talent.
I totally agree, and this is, I believe, what we also do. I give you a good example of what I have experienced and myself, and which I believe, I hope not many people experience, but my director and we went to a conference, and she was yelled at in front of everyone. That was crazy.
That's horrible.
This was really, I am 195. So obviously, we are partners in that regard. So then, of course, But that was something I never experienced. And one of our interns, for example, of course, he's a bit feminine. He's a designer. It's let's say I'm 195, 106 kilos. You don't make a fight with me. But that other guy. So, for example, we within our team we have safe words we use, making sure if somebody needs help, then Joseph comes along. But what we see is at this moment that the I don't want to call it hate, but I want to call it, I don't know, it's not hate, but the speaker before you said, the Eastern European countries is a problem. I do agree, but I also see this in the Western European countries. Yeah, I think it's a bigger issue here, I would say, but this is how we deal with it during events, because we do a lot of events, and there I see the most. But yeah, it goes a bit too far, but this is how we handle it a
Yes.
bit.
But
Yeah,
also it's
so,
very interesting to understand how we need to understand how to do gender inclusion and diversity first in our companies, in our place, but then also how we do it, for example, in external part with our partners during events when we sell a product, because this is another part of let's say it's another side of this topic that we need to be included internally, but also externally. If we don't, if we do it internally, people also need to know that we do the same externally, that our services are adapted as well. And I think it's very also an important topic, and we need to understand how we align both.
yeah, I agree. This is something, it's a societal thing at the moment. It's start changing slowly but surely. I do
Yes,
agree.
exactly. And it also depends on the countries. As another person said before regarding Eastern countries, I'm myself from Ukraine, and I also know how long it could take to understand this concept about gender, inclusion, and diversity when it was not very popular before. So,
You can also, so what we do is we always choose the partners we are working with. So, for example, our venues we are talking to, we go there, and then we see, for example, that if they are friendly to us, then we choose for them, and then we make here and there a comment, and if they are positive to that comment, then we know, okay, this is a safe space. I would say, that's very important too. We also look at, accessibility, for example. It's also a big issue
yes,
in many countries, for people in wheelchairs. And then we also look, and again, I'm quite tall, so I go then there and just say, hey, what is your, if somebody comes in, from a different gender, or is, for example, LGBTQIAP plus, if he's trans, for example, how are you guys dealing with this? How is your security dealing with it?
yes,
And so far we found very good locations. And I had one location, where we said, no, I'm sorry, the vibe is not good. Sorry. We just leave it. The vibe is not good. There's some comments here and there. And then there was in London, actually, that was in London, you have to imagine. So there, one of our internshippers, he got bullied by the bar personnel, and then I went in and I said to the owner of the bar, this happens once more, and then we just cancel this whole now. Then the next event will be canceled. So it happened once again, and then I choose a different venue. So this is what we do then. But yeah, you can always choose your venue, I would say.
thank you very much. We can also check the chat. There is a lot of messages. I know, Katerina, if how should I go through? If you can guide me, please.
Okay, I think yes, we have an active chat, which is very nice always. And I don't know if there are questions actually, or just conversation. Of course, if anyone wants to speak, you can always open your mic and ask questions.
But the exchanges in the chat are very interesting, especially regarding the field where you are working and how you try to deal with it. It's very interesting. So also there is another person telling us in the chat that there is an initiative named Women Tech Makers, powered by Tech Innovation, is open for everyone interested. It's an initiative trying to help with equality in tech industries. Thank you very much to the person who put it in. It's very interesting.
Anastasia, also, if you'd like, you can also share some contact details or your LinkedIn account in case that
Yes, sure.
someone wants
Please,
to.
sorry, I have
Yes.
my email here. So please
Okay,
don't.
great.
Sure. Please don't hesitate. I put it also in the chat. So please don't hesitate to contact me by email. And I can then with Katerina, we will be able to share the presentation with all of the links to the Penelope handbook tool, but also to the e-learning platform. So you can also have the certification for free. You will have access to everything as Katerina explained, but after all of the training passed, if I'm not wrong. Katerina, correct me if I'm
Well, indeed, yes, we will share all materials and the recordings after the capacity building program, and you will be notified on the release date and the platform on which we will share them. We will probably share them through YouTube, but you will be informed. So thank you so much, Anastasia, for this insightful presentation. And as I also see a lot of people are also saying that it's a delicate issue and it's very important that we can discuss it here. Since we have no further questions, I would like to thank you.
Another question in the chat asking, so for the release date, we are talking about end of June.
Yes, sure. Because end of June is our last webinar. So we will release the videos after that. Okay, again, I would like to thank everyone for participating today. And once again, the special thank to our speaker. And if you have any additional questions after the session, even for the capacity building program, you can always reach out to us by email. So before we close this session, I would like also to remind you that our next session will take place next Wednesday and will focus on EU funding for the cultural heritage. We expect this to be another very interesting topic for you. So thank you all once again, and see you soon.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you.
Mm.